Hello everyone, this is Brian bringing you episode 21 of Kerbal Space Program, my career in Kerbal Space Program .90. And unfortunately, I kind of screwed up. I forgot to hit the recording button on a couple of important events. First was, well, the launch of course, but you've seen a lot of those. The event I'm talking about was the final completion of the map of Mun, and I moved the mapping satellite. I did a beautiful transfer burn from Mun to Minmus, and now that satellite is on its way there. And this, what you're looking at now, is of course the LV-250, and it is bringing up two MKS canisters there on top of machinery for the station. You've got to fill these MKS modules with machinery in order for them to work and do their magic. I made one modification to this launch vehicle, which I'll probably keep for a while, which is that I replaced the stack decoupler up at the top with a large docking port, perfectly capable of jettisoning the payload, and this way I can probably start bringing stuff out of orbit with this. And it looks like my post-sound editing didn't go perfectly, so I missed a couple of sound effects that needed to be moved around in time to match the time acceleration I applied to the video. Hopefully there won't be too much of those problems going on. And right about now in my flight I'm realizing that, oh, I only put a docking node on one side of that payload. I should have done on both. So somehow I need to detach this, move away, and then get the tug in there to connect to it. And because of all the shenanigans in the last episode about payloads and dropping them off and being too far away, I'm being extra careful here to get nice and close to the station and zero out my relative velocity as much as possible. I'm also thinking that because I've dialed in my re-entry burn to be a vacuum re-entry burn, I'm going to do a little bit of remodeling to this launch vehicle and remove the small bottom tank and the top small tank and replace it with a medium-sized tank so that I have the same amount of fuel but one less part. And maybe that will help with which you haven't seen because I land very delicately, but if you land too hard on those landing gear, the whole rocket just disassembles. And I don't know if that's because the landing gear need a larger object to connect to or what. Okay, so you probably saw that I undocked the payload. Luckily this tug has two docking nodes on it, so I can dock this whole thing to the station just by docking the other docking port on the tug to the station. And oops, it's spinning. And I think I just gave it another nudge. Now if this happens to you, my recommendation is not to chase it around like I'm doing right now. You should probably do what I do here eventually, which is just get in front of it, let it bump into me, and stop the spinning that way. Then move back from it a little bit and go for the docking port again. So yeah, I'm blocking it right now. This payload has no monopropellant control, it doesn't have anything, it's just completely dumb. Looks like my blocking didn't do too well, but I think I have an opportunity here. There we go. There we go. And I briefly thought about moving all the machinery over now, but that's a silly thing to do with nobody there to do it, so I will leave that to when I get the Kerbals up here, probably in the next mission. Okay, so setting up, and I select something, and it keeps wanting me to, I'm trying to select the waypoint, and it keeps, something else keeps getting in the way here. I have no idea what it is. It's like 40 miles away or so. And so finally I'm like, I think I accidentally, I think I clicked the wrong thing here. And oh my gosh, what is this? Ha! Okay. So this thing's engines are still running. So this is a Mark II that a VTOL that I crash landed here on a contract mission, and the Kerbal survived. And I was like, okay, I really want to show more station building stuff because I want to get that over with. I don't want to interject just one silly mission here where I blew something up. So I just recovered the Kerbals and left the wreckage, but accidentally selected the wreckage, and now I've crashed the game. I cannot get out of this screen here. And now it zooms me way back out. and I can't do anything. So I force quit, and I think eventually I'm able to actually recover this thing. Okay, I think that was the force quit right there. So I went back, that's right, I went back to the tracking center and I recovered it from there, which was fine, seeing as that's a game crasher. Yeah, those jet engines get really good fuel consumption. That, I don't know how long it had been sitting there, probably at least an hour or two of game time with the engine still running like that. I know, I held back a good crash, I'm sorry. It was silly, really. Okay, so this burn right here, I believe, is just to lower my periapsis. I don't want to come down from 120 kilometers like I did last time. And I overburned a little bit, so now I'm using the monopropellant here just to boost the periapsis back up slightly. So it's sitting right on 71 at the moment. Now I'm just going to simply warp around. Now I'm bringing my apoapsis down. Which I didn't really need to do. I'm actually close enough that I probably could have gone right into my deorbit burn there, which would have effectively slowed me down as if I'd lowered the apoapsis down. But now it's all set, so now I'm selecting. I figured out that with Trajectories mod you can select the KSC as a target. I don't really need that waypoint there anymore. Which is cool because this then gives me a dot on the nav ball to aim for, which is what I'm lacking with the waypoints. Just as if I'd put the flag out there. Now it turned out the node I placed, I was just come too close. I had to go around one more time. Couldn't quite get that right. But the other side of this orbit is in the atmosphere. I don't want that, so use a little more RCS here to make sure I'm completely out of the atmosphere. Okay, now I'm setting up the node I'll use for the next pass. Okay, and I see that my inclination is slightly off here, so I've got time here. I've got an ascending and descending node coming up, so I warp around to the closest one and ascending node. Go ahead and burn that down a little bit, try and get that inclination down to 0. I know I've walked everybody through this a few times, but you know what? I'm still getting better at it. I think on episode 24, I'm going to do a full tutorial on this particular reusable rocket, and you know how to dissect it, go through the anatomy of it, everything. and then fly one last simple mission with it. And after that, I probably won't talk about that so much. So now my inclination is right at 0. Yeah, I think I have some more modern parts now. I can clean up this the upper side of this vehicle here. Make it a little more pleasing, a little more capable, maybe even a little slightly shorter. Okay, it looks like coming up slightly short, not too bad. Burn a little bit of reserve fuel here. Nice gentle touchdown. Oh, ran out of fuel, but that's okay. Made it, recovered. Now remember that crash I had? So I've seen this a couple times in KSP. If you get that and your GUI is kind of locked up and you can't leave whatever scene you're on, it has also destroyed all of your active contracts. So look at this. I've got no active contracts. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to a backup file from a couple days ago, or am I just going to go with it? And I decide, well, I'll just go with it, because I did find out one thing. You can't, it says you can take unlimited contracts, but the truth is only so many of them will spawn. So you can take all the ones that will spawn, and if you've got a bunch of them held in your active slot that you can't quite do yet, it's keeping other ones that you can do from spawning. So it's best to not do that. And I'm like, okay, screw it, I crashed. It gives you an opportunity to fix that. I don't want to go back and fly that mission again. So I'm just kind of refilling the contracts I'm going to do here. Basically anything that has to do with launching satellites or going to MUN. I'm going to leave everything else out. Alright, that's it for tonight. Thank you for watching. I have 2 more episodes on my hard drive, and then you'll be all caught up. And hopefully I'll be able to do both of those this weekend, the weekend of the 14th, March 14th. Alright, good night.